Hey there YouTube, this is sjm4306 back with another review video. This time, I was contacted by a company that I've done a few product reviews in the past, and I think very highly of them. And that's rare for me to say in terms of like test equipment stuff that aren't name brand. I use a lot of, multimeters and oscilloscopes and all that stuff. Usually name brand stuff at work. But Miniware, they make kind of hobbyist, what'd you call it? Like electronic hobbyist equipment. I would say it's not, it's somewhere between like semi-professional and like bare bones hobbyist. And the price points are actually really good for what they offer. So I was contacted by their sales rep, and he asked me if I was interested in reviewing something from them. And I use almost every single day a portable oscilloscope by them. I think, what was it, the DS212? I use that quite often because it's convenient. I can actually use that along with a like a desktop oscilloscope in order to get more extra channels. And it's just really convenient to have battery powered and all that. And also they make the LA, I forget what exactly the model number is. It's like LA2 something. It's a 4-channel portable digital logic analyzer, and that is, oh my god, that is a godsend. So I use that quite often. And the smart tweezers they gave me, I have them right behind me. These guys, I use these incessantly. Anyway, not to distract as I ramble on how much I love this company, they sent me the MHP30, and I've been really wanting to get my hands on one of these. I have a full-size hot plate, and give me a sec, I'm gonna grab it. So this is my full-size hot plate. It measures a good, probably about 8 inches by 8 inches, and this is a UUA 946C. There are tons of like similar looking ones with other brands and whatnot, and this works great, but it takes an awful long time for it to heat up to full heat. And sometimes when I'm only doing a board that's like this big, it's like such a waste to have to heat up the whole thing. This takes ages to cool down, on the order of like hours, to the point where I'm actually comfortable putting it away and touching it without fear of burning myself. So this is great, but I think this is a little bit too heavy duty. I don't like using this guy indoors. Just it makes all sorts of fumes. You can see there's tons of burnt flux. I really got to clean this up. Anyway, so I wanted something a lot smaller. So just this is gonna be my my thumbnail image after we get this guy out of here. Look how cute this is. Oh my goodness. So look at this. Oh my god. Oh, this is ridiculous. Basically, if I remove this, it's like you could fit probably a good like 8 by 8 of these. So about 64 of these you could fit just on the surface of this. So when I'm doing a small board, something about this size, which I would normally do by hand, solder by hand, but this would be so much easier if I just reflow this. If I stencil it and reflow it. So that's what I want to get into, but it's a pain in the butt getting this all set up and ready to go and heated up. So that's why when I first heard of this guy, I didn't realize it was so small, but I knew I really wanted one. Anyway, let me clean this guy, move it off out of the way. It's taking quite a bit of room here. Okay, that's quite a bit better. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to have a good laugh size comparison. Yeah, we have a little manual thing. And they're saying this appliance can be used by children aged 8 and above, and persons with reduced physical, sensory, and mental capabilities or lack of experience and knowledge if they're giving supervision and instruction. I wouldn't quite trust an 8-year-old with this, even if they're supervised. Anyway, we do have a little kind of accordion manual that is not English. This actually, like many of their products, is actually firmware upgradable, and a lot of their products actually have like open source, I would say open source software. They basically provide you the source, and some of their products actually have, I would say, like a cult following where people actually write their own firmwares and whatnot. But anyway, they are pretty open to allowing you to like flash your own software and mess around with their stuff. Documentation though is a little bit leaving to be desired, but it only has two buttons on this guy, an A and a B. So it actually is a little bit confusing navigating the menus from what I've read. You basically only have short presses and long presses, and that's what you got to deal with. Anyway, we do have a Type-C port here, and it does come with a heat-resistant Type-C there we go. Type-C cord, which is really nice. It's like one of these really nice silicone-y ones. And it comes with this little rubber band thing. So definitely thought that one through so it doesn't set itself on fire. This is a really nice cord. But anyway, yeah. So we got that. It comes with a nice little silicone sock on the top to protect. This is actually ceramic. It's not just bare metal. Not sure about the durability on this coating. If it'll scratch away over time, but that's actually, I actually like the idea of having this ceramic rather than just polished metal, because as you saw in my other much larger hot plate, the polished metal gets messed up pretty fast as you use it. Anyway, like a lot of their products, they use these beautiful white OLED screens. Pretty beautiful looking. We'll fire it up in a second. And I really like this touch. Little fold out feet, so that when you put it on the table, you're not going to knock it over as easily. Obviously, if you do something crazy, it will knock over. And this actually does have a sensor. You can set different angles for when it should turn itself off if you accidentally knock it over. So that's actually pretty cool. I guess we should just fire this up. And this is my first time using it, so there we go. Untangle the cord, and I am going to try to use, now the version they sent me does not have a power supply included. It just includes the unit and the cord. There's a model that's slightly more expensive. I think like it was like 20 or 30 bucks more, that comes with a, I believe, a 60 or 65 watt USB PD adapter that just plugs into your wall to power this. And yeah, if you already have an adapter though, like I'm going to try using this power add supply, and I believe this goes up to 40 or 45 watts. So we're going to see. I'm hoping that it'll still work, but it'll just take longer to heat, something like that. Obviously, if you don't have a supply or a power bank that can push 65 watts, I would spend the extra money and go with the kit with the adapter itself. Anyway, we got USB-C to USB-C. It does have this nice RGB LED that shows you, without actually knowing the exact temperature or having to look at the screen, you can see out of the corner of your eye whether this is actively heated or not. And actually, a cool thing that, I'm just going to unplug this real quick, that I forgot to mention is everything is kind of removable, and they made it so that you can easily replace this. And it uses these like really beefy, nice machine, looks like gold-plated contacts. Really nice construction there. There's a little surface mount resistor. I'm guessing that's a sense pin, and maybe that's like current limiting or a current shunt resistor or something like that. That's interesting. But yeah, it's really cool that they made this kind of removable. There's that RGB LED in there, and just two screws, and it looks like this would actually be pretty easy to get into. Let's just insert this the correct way around. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that real quick. So we're going to power it up, and I love that screen. So we can go into setting. Obviously the buttons in the back correspond to the left or right icon. So we can either heat or go into setting. and it looks like there are actually different presets built in. Sleep time, backlight. So like I said, you can change tilt angle, show voltage, volume of the beeping, obviously. I believe you can turn the beeping off. Temperature in Celsius, low current on. So what the low current means is if you're using this with a power bank, you can set it so that a lot of power banks use like a soft power detection. So if you don't have high enough load on the output, it'll shut itself off. So you can actually set this on, I believe, the higher current setting so that it'll always draw a little bit more power to keep your power bank awake. So that's what that is. So let's see. And restore, just restore all the settings. And I think I can just let this time out. There we go. So let's go into heating. And here you can see there's actually a count up timer, as well as the current temperature, the voltage, what preset you're using. I'm using M1, and a little like animated symbol for whether it's cooling off, heating up. The arrow going up is heating up clearly. I'm guessing a downwards moving arrow is cooling down. And I'm guessing when it reaches like a stable temperature, that'll change. You can see it just changed to kind of a yellowish green as the temperature is increasing. And I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to feel with the palm of my hand any heat coming off of it. And anyway, while that's going, I actually want to talk. So I designed this board and I put one of these what are they? CH340 chips on here. This is a USB to serial chip. And unfortunately, I got duped. I got a set of fakes that I bought. I think I got them from Amazon or something like that. They were pretty cheap. Anyway, I disputed it. I got my money back, but I didn't realize when I soldered this that this was fake. That's how I found out it was fake, because when you plug it in, it does nothing. So, and I tested all the signaling. The chip, I don't even know what this chip is. It does nothing. So it doesn't even try to enumerate or anything. So anyway, yeah, I can definitely smell that. And it definitely feels warmer in that vicinity. But anyway, so I want to pull this chip off because it's fake, and I actually have good real chips now, so I need to replace this. I obviously could use hot air. There's a capacitor near there. There's a slightly more delicate like surface mount USB jack, some crystals and whatnot. So obviously I'd like to be a little bit more careful with removing this. So what I'm going to try to do is once this reaches temperature, just try setting it on here and seeing if I can just pluck that chip right off. And I just have to be careful. There are some through-hole components nearby, so I can't, just set it on top. I have to kind of hold it at an angle. And I think that's sort of a limitation of this. Not really its fault per se, but just in its use case. If you have a board that's larger than it, or if you have to have it hang off the side like this because there are through-hole pads or pins, you have to figure out a way of safely holding it, whether you put something similarly sized next to it to prop up the rest of the board or something. So this is actually ideal for if you're making just really small, tiny boards. There we go. We're red. 200. I think we're getting close. I think it was like 220. And yep, I can feel it. So good thing is it is running happily off of this like 40 some watt power bank. So I don't even need the wall. But that might be an issue if we try to push this temperature up even higher. I believe it goes to like 350 C. So that might be an issue. It does say here on the back 60 watts max. So I'm guessing it will run at a lower wattage. It'll just obviously take longer to heat up. So we are at 220, and it changed the arrow up icon to some kind of wavy icon. So I guess that means it's good to go. So I'm just going to just hold it here. And if it gets too hot for me to hold by hand, then I'll figure something else out. But I just want to see if I can quickly just grab that chip right off. And what's cool is it has a timer, so you can see in real time how long this took to heat up. And it looks like just putting this extra thermal mass aboard on, you can see the temperature is decreasing a little bit as it sucks heat away. So this is a test of it actually heating up through the board to the top side, whereas if I'm applying hot air from the top, it would directly heat the chip. So this is maybe a little less efficient because it has to get through the FR4 acting as an insulator. I just want to see, just get this chip. Oh, I can feel the chip starting to come. Let me reword that. I can feel the chip starting to pop off. Yep. There we go. And I'm just going to set this aside. Chip came off pretty easily. And that was sort of, I definitely could have left it on there a little longer. The solder wasn't fully liquid, so it kind of cracked a little bit when I pulled it off. But yeah, it didn't burn the silk screen or the solder mask on the other side. And it looks like pads are clean and I didn't lift anything. So yeah, fake chip going in the trash. Now I'm going to see if I can grab a good chip and just pop it back on its place, and we'll do the opposite. I'll try to solder it. Okay, so I have the new chip, and these I'm sure they work. And I'm just going to add flux all over there. It's going to burn off pretty quick though once I get everything on. So I'm going to get the chip, just kind of set on there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Once it heats up enough to actually solder, it'll kind of pull itself into place. And I can see the flux is burning off. Might actually need to turn the temperature up for this. M2 I think was a little higher. So while that's going, I actually really like the idea of running this off of a power bank, not being tethered to a wall. It makes this so much more convenient, I think. I'm just gonna... You can see it doesn't have a lot of thermal mass, so as soon as you put a board on it, it starts dropping, but once the controller starts sensing, it should increase to compensate. There we go. So look at that, solder melted. It looks like a few of the pads might not have quite enough solder on it, so I might go over that with an iron just to be sure. Definitely easy to pull parts off. How do I shut this off now? So yeah, I think there's really, it's hard to say because there's really not much you can do on such a small device with very limited user input and also somewhat limited display. I think maybe having the best idea, obviously it's going to be in the manual what you need to press to do what, but I think a better idea would be to print out like a little card, and if they just had a table in the card with infographics on how to do different basic functionality with this, because like I don't know how to turn this off. How does this, how? I guess that's cooling down now. Let's give it a second and see if that will. Okay, yeah, so it says the light turned white finally. It says, yeah, you press and long hold B to quit heating. So I guess that this is like the standard menu screen it takes you back to. And I believe it's cooling down. Come back to you, speed through this part. Yeah, it still feels kind of warm. Yeah, I mean, I wish there were some indication because, like I said, it says long press from the heating mode, long press B to quit heating, but there's really no indication that it's really cooling other than the white lights on. But even in their manual, it says light color, blue, red, or red flicker. It doesn't mention white. So I'm a little bit confused. I guess it is cooling down. It's just taking quite a while. I just wish there would be some kind of other indication or note in the manual, white means it's cooling down or whatever. But yeah, it's just stuck on the main mode here, and it looks like it is. Let's see if we go back to here. Oh, yeah, 142. Okay, so it is actually cooling down. So yeah, I guess just leave it like that till it cools to room temp. I'm guessing the white light will turn back to green once it reaches roughly room temp. But yeah, that was actually a lot easier than if I wanted to get the hot air gun out, possibly blow the there's tiny little surface mount capacitors. Would be all fair game to be blown away if I used hot air. Unless if I turn the airspeed way down, I have to put the tip like right up against that area to heat anything up and increase the temp a lot, possibly causing damage. So in this case, actually, where it's kind of tight fit, other through-hole components in the way, and like parts that could be damaged, I think this is kind of ideal for using a small hot plate like this. Yeah, the temperature is definitely going down. So 120. Yeah, there's not much you can do about cooling things down. At least this doesn't have a high thermal mass. But it's a pretty warm day. I don't have the AC on or anything, so it's probably a good 80-something degrees inside right now. So this is going to take quite a while to cool off. I guess I'm going to stop filming now. I'm not going to bore you guys. I'll get back to you once it's back to room temp. Okay, a good 10 minutes or so later, we're back to a green color, so it's probably a little warm, but mostly to room temp. Anyway, I just looked up the price. So this is $69.99 for this exact version without the supply, and it's $99.99 for the one with the supply. I also saw links, tons of places sell this apparently. Amazon has it, but they mark up the price like an extra $20 above that. So if you're going to get this, I would suggest getting it from one of the other retailers that actually has it for the MSRP. Anyway, yeah. Overall, I just quickly, while I was waiting for this to cool down, quickly touched up just pretty much these two pads, added a little flux, just added a tiny little extra solder. And we're good to go. So I'm actually going to test this board. If you guys are wondering what this is, basically it's an ATmega 328p real-time clock and one of these ESP Wi-Fi modules. And I actually made this kind of as like a dev board for making clocks and that kind of stuff. Plenty of I/O broken out, can be powered from the wall, programmed over USB. You can talk to the ESP and grab, weather, time, whatever, NTP, whatever you need. Has an IR receiver. And yeah, this is pretty much like a do-everything development board that I designed. But anyway, yeah, this did a wonderful job getting this off. If I wasn't waffling while I was doing the whole thing, this would have probably only taken like 5 minutes to both to pull off the old chip and stick the new one on. So definitely a lot quicker than heating up that big hot plate that I have. That would have taken just to heat up half an hour, and to cool down would have taken at least like 2 to 3 hours or something after the fact, unless if I stick it in the freezer or something. But anyway, yeah, I really like this in terms of how practical this is. Huge kudos on going with the USB Type-C PD so that you can use power banks. That is awesome. So I'm actually very interested. I might actually pick up one of their USB-C soldering irons now. Now that I have this beefy power bank, I could definitely imagine scenarios where I want to solder not restrained to a power outlet or anything like that. So yeah, user interface, I think, here's the thing. With user interface, I could be very harsh on them, but really, if you're limited to 2 buttons, and I wouldn't actually advise sticking a million buttons on a small device like this, that would actually make it less usable in my opinion. So I think they kind of made the right call with what they have to deal with. Though maybe having like a quick start card with shorthand instructions on how to use this would be, I think, more useful in the end than having, a manual that now I have to keep this manual. If I lose it, I'll forget what the different functions are. Obviously, over time, I'll just memorize what different short and long button presses do, but it would be a lot nicer to have, a quick start card. In terms of functionality, the base is slightly warm, but not like hot or anything like that, which is actually kind of surprising given how much heat was coming off the top surface there. Kudos on them including this very flexible double-ended Type-C cord. It's about, I want to say, 2 to 3 feet long-ish. So not bad on length, especially if you're running on a power bank. You really don't need it to be super long, but very nicely made. Everything. This is the thing about Miniware's products. Like, it's made really super nicely, and they clearly put a lot of thought into like the mechanical design of their products. So I really enjoy that. And this is something I think will actually be super useful, seeing as most of my boards that I make are like really small like this. And having a hot plate will help me immensely over having to use hot air for everything, which I've been doing, and it works, but it's really easy to damage parts and whatnot. And really nice that they include this little sock too, and I think they chose the right path with going with the ceramic coating instead of just leaving it bare metal. I would like to see, I don't think there are any sources yet. I would like to see if they had replacement hot plate parts, because I can see over time this getting scratched up and flux damaging the ceramic. So I would like to see like cheap replacement pads, something like 10-15 bucks for a replacement hot plate pad. I would actually, right now, if they sold it, I would go out and buy a second one just to keep in my parts drawer. For the day that something happens or it dies or it gets scratched or whatever, and I need a replacement right then and there. So if they're listening, please, if you can sell replacement parts. But yeah, overall, I'm actually really happy with this, and this is so adorable. I just can't get over how small and cute this is. And it's pretty functional once you get past the kind of primitive UI. In terms of functionality, plenty of oomph to take this chip off and put a new one on. Now, if you're going to be doing stuff with like very large boards, like a motherboard, and you have like heavy ground planes, thick copper pores, this is probably going to struggle on something like that. But in terms of anything hobbyist grade, like making little doodads like I do, it's perfect. I can't think of a better tool to keep in my tool bag, so to speak. Anyway, yeah, super huge thanks for Miniware for sending this in for a review. It's just absolutely adorable. And anyway, if you guys are interested, put your questions down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.